A test? What's this supposed to be? At this time of night? Starting now? Valerie yelled wildly into a receiver. When he said at this time of night, George and Jessica turned to look. At this time of night, all in your kitchen. Sorry, my mind flashed back to the steam dams. According to the clock, it was past midnight. It might be a normal time to be told to brush their teeth or to go to bed, but he couldn't understand what this test thing was all about. Okay, I'll hand it over. Here, George. It's my dad. Hello, this is George speaking. Ah, hey, George. Sorry to call so late. You weren't sleeping already, were you? You're all still up chatting away? Pretty much. Maria's sleeping. Oh, wait. It looks like she just woke up. So, what do you want to talk about? Valor said something about taking a test. Yeah. Dad can be such a pain sometimes. He suddenly came down from his room. A bunch of stuff happened. And by the end, he was talking about which grandchild would make the best successor. But isn't Uncle Kraus the successor? He said the four of us aren't up to the job, so he's gonna skip us adults and choose one of you grandkids instead. It's also sudden. We're really freaking out here. Aniki and the others are all arguing about it across the room. I bet you can hear Aniki shrieking in the background, huh? Is that so? If that's what Grandfather says, then there's no way around it, I guess. In that case, what should we do? He says he wants to call you out one by one, starting with Jessica. Oh, wait a sec. Okay, you still there? It looks like you and Jessica will be the first up to bat. He wants Jessica to go to the parlor in the mansion. You're supposed to go out in front of the chapel. It's so sudden, I hardly feel ready. What sort of test is it? It looks like Dad made some kind of crazy quiz. Some weird questions about what it means to be the head. Of course, a few things about this seem off to George. However, Kinzo was famous for doing radical things on a whim. Even this strange test seemed plausible once he heard that it was a sudden idea of Kinzo's. But even so, he wanted to test them one by one. I wouldn't call them out one by one. They could have just had everyone wait in some reception room to be called in one at a time. Why would two people be called out to different places at the same time? The plan didn't seem to make sense, and George felt he was missing something. Still, I wonder why he wanted to meet you in front of the chapel of all places. He expects a lot from you. I think he wants to talk to you alone. Not sure what about. Grandfather wants to talk to me? I wonder what he's gonna say. I mean, you're the most talented of all his grandkids. Probably got something to tell you in particular, right? Anyway, that's what he says. Get over there right away. I'm supposed to go to the chapel too, so let's get this over with, or we're both gonna catch colds. I see. Okay, then I'll head toward the front of the chapel, and Jessica will go to the parlor. Sure. I'll see you in a bit then. What sort of test or private conversation could Kinzo possibly want to have at this time of night? Then again, it is a well-known fact that Kinzo doesn't have long to live. It wouldn't be so strange if he wanted to give some sort of will to each of his descendants individually. Inside George's mind, the faint feeling that something was wrong was replaced by a desire to meet Kinzo directly and hear more about this in detail. George set down the receiver and quickly explained to the others. It's as you heard. Grandfather says he wants to give us all some kind of test. A test? After hiding in his study all these years, he suddenly decides to give us a test this late at night? Damn that old geezer! What's he thinking? Seems our parents feel the same way. Sounds as though they're all worked up about it. Well, I doubt getting worked up about will change Grandfather's mind. Exactly. We might as well accept it. It's Grandfather's order after all. Let's obey it. To start, Jessica and I are being called out. I'm going to the chapel. Jessica's supposed to go to the parlor in the mansion. What about Maria and me? I think they'll contact you later. Wait here. Ah! A midnight test! What can it be? Maria, who was now fully awake, seemed to be very excited about this unexpected midnight test. Then we'll just hang out here. Yes. Okay, I'm going. It sounds like they're already waiting for us. So he's making one of his grandkids the successor. Sounds great to me. Now I can let one of you guys deal with it.
I'm gonna become the successor. I wanna do it.
Having Maria as the successor wouldn't be so bad. Bye. See you later. Rudolph put down the receiver and stood up. Okay. Guess I'm going into the spot in front of the chapel. It's damn cold out there. Goda, have some coffee waiting for me when I get back, will you? Next to Rudolph, Goda was lying face up. His face was covered by a crossword puzzle book. However, its pages were stained with blood, and you didn't need to move the book to imagine how he had met his pitiful end. How was it? A nice script, don't you think? Yep. We should be thinking dead. If we just say it was him being fickle, no one's gonna doubt us. Then let's split up. I'll take care of Jessica. You take care of George. You got it. Let's get this over with quickly so we can relax and have some coffee. There won't be any problems, yes? No sudden pangs of conscience? Kiri smiled coldly. It probably would have been safer to call them out one by one and finish them off together. However, Kiri had chosen to have her husband work separately. She wanted to measure Rudolph's resolve. If she was the only one who got her hands dirty, and Rudolph just watched, his heart wouldn't be as dedicated to this venture. By having him dirty his own hands, she could truly make him determined to see this thing through. Kiri understood this sort of mind game better than anyone else. Rudolph reflexively averted his gaze from the cold glint in her eyes, but then he just shrugged and answered her question. Of course! We have a billion yen riding on this, and I'm a man. I'm not gonna miss a chance that I'll never come again in my lifetime. I expected no less of you, Rudolph. I love people who seize chances when they come. That's why I fell in love with you. Thanks. I'm glad. Rudolph. What? Stay like that always, okay? What did you say? Always remain the same Rudolph I love, okay? Of course! When have I ever let you down? You should be more worried about what kind of champagne we'll be using to toast our victory. I'll do that. Take care now. If you really treasure Battler, don't kill George in front of the chapel, okay? That'll be a pain if he finds the body. Yeah, I know. I'll lure him away somehow. Be outside and it's raining. There'll be some way to do it. And you aren't a villain in some old western, got it? Don't grant any last requests or take down any final messages, okay? Kiri lifted up her gun again and ran the lever to eject the casing from the round that she had killed Goda with. Well, oh well. Ava was holding Hideyoshi's body and crying. She hadn't been shot at all. The bullet had grazed her head and missed. She hadn't been playing dead. She really thought she had been shot. When Kiri's gun spat fire, Ava felt something fierce skim past her head, before feeling lightheaded and fainting. Then she had awoken in a now silent room of gold. The remains of her beloved husband lay beside her, as well as Kraus, Natsuki, and Rosa's corpses. It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a room of death and piled up bodies. 'It was a When she had cried all she could over Hideyoshi's body, she realized she still had something she needed to do. George is in danger! George! George! They're trying to use the bomb to blow everything up to bury this whole island with an explosion accident. Of course, as Ava had expected, the switch on the clock was set to the right, which meant that it was active. Ava moved to flip it to the left and stopped. That's right. As long as the switch points to the right, everything that happens will disappear in this night of illusions. Yes, this is an illusion. No matter what happens tonight, everything will become muddled and hidden away. They're probably going to kill everyone else that has to beat it, I'm sure of it! When she looked at the table with a box of bullets, she saw the signs that they had been roughly grabbed a bunch of bullets before leaving. It clearly showed that they planned to use that many bullets. I have to fight, if only just to protect the life of my precious son! The gun that I dropped when I was shot is stuck with the lever open. No matter how hard I pull, it won't open any further and it won't close again. Apparently, a bullet got jammed and broke it. It's just as Kyrie said, loading a bullet is tough if you aren't used to it. Please! Dear! Lend me your strength! Lend me your strength! So that I can protect George! In Hideyoshi's hand was Krause's gun, which he had been trying to pick up. Ava took it and prayed to her husband one more time and tugged to the lever handle. With a light metallic sound, the golden casing spun through the air and bounced off the ground, but she timidly tried to push the lever back. This time it returned to its original place without any resistance. There was another metallic clang. It was the sound of a new bullet being loaded. Figured it'd be something like this. Someone scheming to show me the game that disgusts me the most, just to mock me. In the game so far, various people have been suspected of being the culprit or an accomplice. The only difference was that now, Rudolph and Kyrie were those suspects. However, to Angie, that was the most infuriating plot twist possible. Even Leon was full of painful thoughts. Solving the epitaph was supposed to be the only miracle that could lead to the game without a single victim. But ironically, the tragedy hadn't been averted even so. Does it mean we aren't allowed to have a future where we all return happily from this island alive, even if the epitaph is miraculously solved before the crime occurs? A miracle certainly will not occur. Words, which I had heard in one of the fragments Bernkastel had shown me, raced through my mind. Bernkastel, you showed me how wonderful my world was. I want to believe that you created this tale just to hurt Angie. Right now, even I realize that you're the game master here. Please tell me. You showing us this game. Of course, no one answered Leon's muttered question. The game created to mock Angie continued emotionlessly, with more terrible twists that didn't betray anyone's expectations anymore. Ha! Show me whatever terrible game you like! You're trying to say that this is one of the endless possibilities inside the cat box, right? Just do whatever you want! I won't let something like this get to me! Someday, I'll find out the truth of what happened on October 5th, 1986! After meeting Kyrie in the parlor, Jessica was told that the test would be held in the dining hall, and she followed Kyrie there. Kyrie, there's no one here. He'll be here soon. Sit over there. Jessica sat in the chair that she'd been offered, looking nervous and agitated. Kyrie was by far the calmer of the two. Kyrie closed the door behind her, revealing the gun that rested behind it. Jessica was facing the other way, so she saw nothing. Did you hear anything about this on Kyrie? Like, what kind of test this is? Yes. It'll be over soon. I sure hope so. As she complained, Jessica turned her head around. The tip of her nose bumped into the cold metal. Huh? What are you doing? I guess shooting people in the back just isn't for me after all. Hey, that was dangerous. What on earth are you doing? Come on, why else would someone point a gun and pull the trigger? Rudolph reloaded rapidly and pulled the trigger again without any sign of hesitation. As the sound of gunfire thundered through the rain, George grabbed at his side and fell to his knees. That's weird. I guess it really does shoot low. This gun's really got it bad. Somebody! Help me! Uncle Rudolph is... George started stumbling away, still clutching at his side. His voice as he called for help was weak and thin. In comparison, Rudolph, who stood behind him, looked perfectly calm as he fiddled with his gun and checked his sights. It hurts! It hurts! It felt to George as though something had been gouged into his side. It was so painful that he could barely stand and walk. He leaned against the trunk of a tree, after he crouched down trying to cover his wound. He was no longer able to stand back up. George didn't have a clue what was going on. However, he had felt as though something was wrong this whole time. Of course, it was strange that he be called out alone to a place like this, at a time like this. And yet, how could he have known that something was wrong? After all, his own uncle had told him that his grandfather was asking him to join the family conference. How could he have suspected? Sorry about this, George. It hurts, doesn't it? If I knew it'd come to this, it would have been kinder to just blow your brains out from behind. I thought it'd be too cruel to finish you off before you knew what hit you, but it looks like I got it backwards. Why? Uncle Rudolph! Why would my kind uncle do this? Forget about this. By tomorrow night, all of it won't have happened. With a quick use of the lever handle, he loaded another bullet. The casing of the bullet that had pierced George's side fell heartlessly in front of him. Everyone's gonna die in a sudden unfortunate accident. Until that moment, we'll all be a big happy family. That's how it's gonna be. So don't worry about this. Forget it all. Of course, George didn't have a clue what Rudolph was talking about. All he knew was that Rudolph wanted to kill him, and that he showed no trace of hesitation. His image of Rudolph as an ideal, cool, joke-loving adult didn't match up with the man standing in front of him holding a gun. No, maybe this feels wrong because it fits him too well. He has that same smile as though he's about to tell some hilarious joke. But he's pointing a gun at me. Why would that kind, funny Uncle Rudolph do this? It made him feel unimaginably sad as tears flowed from his eyes. Uncle Rudolph! I admire you so much! Haven't I always told you, George? Make sure you don't end up as an adult like me. Now you see why. In the next world, make learning how to spot villains your first priority. I know you can do it. After all, it's just another kind of studying. He bit down the pain in his side. With the last of his strength, George threw his whole body into a roundhouse kick. At the same time, fire spat from Rudolph's gun. The bullet pierced George's chest. George spun around as he felt a mist and outpouring of blood. He moaned wordlessly, clenching his blood-stained teeth. A frigid gun was pressed harshly against his temple. So long. Go become a great man in the next world. Don't get blinded by money by me. Can't believe that my uncle would kill for money. You're so innocent. People can kill over money. The ruthless trigger forestalled any further questions. George's hands, which had been covering his wound, dropped lightlessly. When Rudolph saw the last glimmer of life leave him, he sighed deeply and looked tired. That was easier than I thought. Rudolph looked up into the stark, rainy sky, the raindrops hitting him full in the face, and laughed with an indescribable expression, his tongue hanging out. I thought my conscience would bug me more. Now that it's over, it was pretty easy. Rudolph laughed. It was probably just the thing Kyrie had hoped for. It had taken considerable effort to kill George. He may have been merciless, but the last traces of a conscience in Rudolph's heart had probably slowed him down. However, now that he had killed someone with his own hands, a turning point that few people ever reach, Rudolph had finally awakened. No, he finally understood. It's just like squeezing dough out of a bunch of morons. The same old game of musical chairs. If there's a pile of money in front of you, the first one to reach it wins. The slow one's just kicked down to hell. Haven't I driven dozens of poor fools into debt with my earlier swindles? Several of those probably ended up bankrupt, and some of those probably hanged themselves. I always laugh like it was none of my business. And that's all there is to it. The only difference now is that for the first time, I dealt the foul blow with my own hands. Thanks, Kyrie. You're always the best at cutting away my naivety. Rudolph's evil laugh rang out. The laugh was so purely evil it was almost soothing. Hypocritical evil that still contains some pangs of conscience is far more repulsive to behold. If a man's committed to doing great evil anyway, how much more pleasant and gallant is it when he's wholly devoted to his goal? In that sense, Rudolph's evil smile and laugh were pleasant and gallant indeed. Which means the brutal, bloody stage of the dining hall must have been soothing as well. A clang, a thud, a crack, a squish. A strange mixture of these sounds kept repeating over and over at the same tempo. Each time a red splash landed on the tablecloth dangling nearby. Jessica, can you hear me? Kyrie asked this with a sort of smile any aunt might make to her niece. However, Jessica didn't answer. There was nothing particularly surprising about this. After all, by now, her nose had been broken. Her eyes had been smashed. Her teeth had been knocked out. And not only her nose, but her entire face was now hardly recognizable as a face. Just a lump of bloody flesh. Kyrie had finally stopped her task of repeatedly smashing Jessica's face with the stock of her gun. Still sitting on top of Jessica, she tossed her gun to the side, pulled out a compact out of her pocket, and looked at her own face in the mirror. Then finally, she realized that her face was covered by speckles of fresh blood. How terrible. These clothes will have to go too. With a muffled laugh, Kyrie shakily rose to her feet. Jessica wasn't moving anymore. She had been convulsing a bit until a second ago, but now she was still as stone. Smashing a woman's face is nothing new to your aunt, okay? Sorry about that. If you hadn't resisted, I could have given you a much cleaner death. Kyrie pulled the tablecloth off and used it like a towel to wipe the blood from all over her body. However, instead of taking the blood off, it just smeared around, and did nothing to remove the stench of blood and death that covered her. When she got tired of rubbing tablecloth against blood, Kyrie walked over to the extension line phone in the corner of the room. Then she dialed the number for the cousin room in the guest house. Hello, it's me. It's your turn, Anne Balor. Go to the spot in front of the chapel, please. Yes, that's right. I haven't been given any instructions from Maria. Have her wait there. Yes, keep your wits about you. I'm rooting for you to be chosen the successor, battler. With the same smile as usual, and the partly wiped splashes of blood still covering her face, Kyrie finished her call to battler. As she set down the receiver, there was a small knock and Rudolph came back into the room. Hey, you look like shit. Jessica has better reflexes than I gave her credit for. I didn't think she'd be able to fight back from a situation like that. It's a bit of a shame she had to end up looking like this. What a waste of a good Natsuki-esque woman. And how about your end? Did he give you much trouble? No problems there. Plain and simple. When Kyrie heard Rudolph's instant response, she favored him with an evil smile. Yes. The man she loved was the sort who could do it if he tried, without letting cheap emotions get in the way. I love you, Rudolph. I wouldn't have it any other way. Start to imagine an easier job to net you 1 billion yen. It's like Dad always said, in the life of every man there comes one day when he has to be willing to kill. In other words, always be determined to survive, even if you have to kill to do it. That's my favorite line of his. What's next? My rifle's hungry for blood. You've got a big job coming up. Convincing battler. Ah, that's right. That'll be a pain. Hope I don't have to end it by pulling the trigger. I've really enjoyed life as a 3-person family with Angie. But if you really want Ballard to join in on that, give it your best. Sure. I'll make sure we don't have any complaints from him. Don't worry, I've always worked out a scenario to trick him good. Good luck. Even I hope Angie's beloved big brother doesn't get caught up in an explosion accident. I know. Then I'll head back to the chapel. Rudolph. What? If you can't convince Battler. I know. That happens, bang. Battler's independent enough that he left the family out of protest when I married you, remember? If you can only convince him halfway and that things get nasty later on, he'll prove fatal to us. I know. Believe in me. And if I decide that Battler is growing suspicious, I'll kill him myself. He's not my kid after all. Yeah, I know. So, promise me one thing, Kyrie. What's that? If I can trick Valor and the 3 of us make it off this island. If that happens, what? Never say that Valor isn't your kid again. After all, you're his mother. Please. Sure, I promise. Kyrie shrugged and answered as she loaded bullets. You go to the chapel. I'll wait until Valor is left, and then clean up everything inside the guest house. Are you sure you'll be okay doing that alone? That's my line. Valor left the guest house under an umbrella. He had been called to the area in front of the chapel, just like George had been. Not even 30 minutes had passed since George and Jessica had been called out. Apparently, this test didn't last too long. Damn, geezer! First you never come out, not even for lunch, and then you show up in the middle of the night with a test! I bet living in as a shut-in's got his sense of day and night all backwards. Complaining all the way, Valor strolled off into the rain. Almost immediately, he was swallowed up by the darkness of the rose garden and passed out of the sight. And then, Kyrie could be seen coming out from the darkness of the rose garden. Her right hand held a gun, her left an umbrella. Her inner pocket contained the master key that she had stolen from Goto. Her right pocket had a handful of bullets. Her left held a knife as she had fled from the kitchen. She was carefully and perfectly outfitted murderer. Another bolt of lightning struck down from the swirling skies. It lit up only half of Kyrie's face. Her cheek was still covered with Jessica's blood. Under the eaves, Kyrie folded up her umbrella, smiled, and spoke to no one. Hey everyone, I'm home. Rudolph could be seen out of the eaves of the chapel. He had hidden his gun in the nearby shadows and was now smoking a cigarette. It'd be easy to trick that dimwit. If it doesn't work, that's just too bad. He glanced over the place that he had stowed his gun. The cigarette smoke began to pleasantly cloud his mind. Fowler isn't a kid anymore. He's an adult who can choose his own path as he pleases. When the animals grow up, it's normal for them to form a group and go on a journey. Humans are the only ones that keep treating their young like kids, even after they get big. If I had known to come to this, I never would have begged for you to come back. I regret drawing you back into the family. Puffed out those words, along with the smoke. When Balor came, he didn't intend to voice those regrets of his. Rudolph was already determined to play the part of the evil murderer who kills for money. He's still not here. What's taking him so long? At that moment, he heard the sound of someone stepping on gravel. He looked up thinking that Balor had finally arrived, but the sound had come from the opposite direction of the mansion. Rudolph, how could you do that to my husband? Aneki, so you're still alive. Sorry that I'm alive! Too bad! But my husband wasn't so lucky. How could you? How could you? With a face obscured by anger and tears, Eva slowly walked closer, her gun raised. Her husband had been killed right in front of her. She probably wouldn't even hesitate. Realizing that a gun quivering with anger was pointed right at his chest, Rudolph backed away. As he pretended to retreat, he approached the gun he had hidden in the shadows. Calm down, Nikki. Put the gun down. I never wanted that to happen. Everything happened so fast, there was nothing I could do. How could you tell such half-baked lies? As Eva had said that, it really had been a half-baked, pointless thing to say. Rudolph would have said anything if he thought it would calm Ava's emotions before she pulled the trigger, which she looked capable of doing at any moment now. Then Rudolph's foot came into contact with his gun. Let's just talk this over. George should be here soon. Oh, hey George, we're over here. Rudolph waved as though George was coming from behind Ava. Let Ava's attention turn in that direction. That idiot. My simple big sister's always been a sucker. Die! Gunfire. Then, a bit later, the sound of something heavier than rain drip-dropping onto the cobblestone. Ah! Rudolph, I've always been able to see through your tricks! The bullet Ava fired went straight into Rudolph's chest. The bullet Rudolph fired at Ava missed, landing near her feet. Guess I was right. This gun does shoot low. He dropped the gun into a puddle with a splash, staggered backwards and leaned against the wall of the chapel. Now that's not it. All good westerns end with the bad guy's bullet missing. Ava dashed up to him, kicked away the gun that had fallen into the puddle, and grabbed Rudolph by the collar. What about George? Where is he? I won't let you kill him! Sorry, Aneki. Already got him. Liar! In the bushes over there. Go take a look. You'll see soon. Rudolph! You! Ava, who claimed to know all of her little brother's tricks, also knew that Rudolph's final words, as his consciousness began to fade thanks to the bullet wound, were not a lie. How could you? George! George! An empty shell casing bounced off the cobblestone. The furious gun barrel was pressed against Rudolph's forehead. Go ahead and shoot. I doubt that'll bring much peace, though. A bolt of lightning turned everything white. However, the wall of the chapel was stained blood red. A red splash, like a crushed tomato, came out from the back of Rudolph's head and covered the wall, then leaving a red trail behind him. Rudolph sagged downwards, sat on the ground, and fell over. George! 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 Ava dashed toward the bushes. She found George's corpse almost immediately, screamed, and broke down sobbing. Rudolph's bloody corpse was exposed to the rain that had ran off the eaves. His eyes were still wide open. A fist-sized flesh-covered hole was open in the back of his head, and his insides were exposed to the open air. Inside was a mixed jelly of flesh, brains, and spinal fluid. That goop, which looked like someone had mixed it up with a spoon, dripped from his eyes, nose, ears, mouth, and the hole in his head. Dad! Dad! Ah! Angie clutched at her head, sobbing and moaning. Her father had dirtied his hands with murder over money, and on top of that, he had faced such a cruel end, and Angie had been forced to see his corpse. It was hard to imagine a more painful experience for a daughter to go through. Totally fed up with this. It's completely meaningless. Castle, I know you're here somewhere. Please make this game stop. There's no point to it. As if in an answer to that yell, a black shadow appeared a few seats in front of them. Or perhaps she was sitting there the whole time. Maybe we just couldn't see her until we were aware of her. It was, without a doubt, the back of Berncastle's head. Berncastle! Pipe down back there, and she watched the show quietly. The witch turned around with bored eyes, as though the two people were yelling were the strange ones. Please stop this! We realize the sealed Catbox world of October 4th and 5th! The games are like messages, or maybe more like a roundabout love letter. A single message could be conveyed over several games. But now we understand. We know the endless tales can sleep out of this sealed 2-day Catbox. And beyond that, I even know the culprit and the motive. That's already been revealed. It doesn't have anything to do with this game. We both know the answer to this Catbox tale. So there shouldn't be any need for any further games. If this is supposed to be a game between you and us, then we already know the answer. The game should be over.
Just shut up already. Didn't you hear Bern tell you to be quiet?
Another shadow appeared in the next seat over, turned around and scolded the pair. There is a point. If you just watch, you'll see it. Are you the game master? Not at all. Then who is it? Could it be Claire? If you watch, you'll see. Not much longer now.
The tragedy had already reached its climax. Who will survive, I wonder?
When Castle isn't the game master, then who is? Could Claire have created this cruel tale? Or are there even more witches playing around with this Catbox? The guest house was wrapped in silence. There were no sounds, no trace of anyone's presence, no breathing from anyone alive. There wasn't anything to be heard anymore. If anything could be heard, it was the sound of the murderer's feet stepping across the floor. Kiri slowly passed through the lounge. In her right hand was a gun. In her left hand was a knife. The knife was stained with blood, and was still dripping from the tip, leaving behind red tracks like a demon's footprints. Her hands were filled with the tools of murder, but she wasn't capable of doing anything but murder. In that sense, at the moment, she was clearly and purely a murderer. The murderer went to the entrance hall, and then only after reaching the front door looked down to see the two blood-stained hands of the killer. Those hands gripped the tools of death that had performed a cruel massacre. Then at last the murderer realized that it wouldn't even be possible to open the door like this. and tossed aside the knife. Then the murderer reached out to the door and turned around calmly and spoke. Sorry, everyone. But don't worry. A few days later, the newspapers will be talking about an important accident. And I'm sure the news shows, the papers, the rumor mongers, everywhere will be sure that you spent your time in happy ignorance until the instant of the accident. In other words, you'll have a good time until midnight on October 5th. So said the one who had stained that bloody guest house red. At this hour, the cousins are all staying up late and playing around. And the servants who have to get up early are all snoring. The ones on the late shift are probably filling in the log or taking a break about now. That's how it is. From where I am now, I can hear laughter coming from the cousin room. Humans outside the cat box would probably never understand what Kyrie was saying. Only she, Jet inside the cat box of the explosion accident, could really know what it meant. Outside, the rain poured down heavily. Kyrie almost picked up an umbrella, but then stopped suddenly, as if she just thought of something. Then, she started walking out into the rain, not caring whether she got wet or not. Did the murderer not want an umbrella to get in the way of her gun? Or was she hoping the rain could act as a shower to get the blood off her? Kyrie stopped walking, as though something unexpected had caught her attention. However, this time it was no whim of hers. How could you? Kill my husband! Oh, Ava. That's surprising. How could I have missed you from that distance? I'm just as surprised. I didn't think I'd survive. You came here from the underground stairway behind the chapel, right? In that case. That's right! I bumped into Rudolph in front of the chapel! And how was he doing? Oh, just wonderful. We managed to have a friendly, chivalry chat for the first time in a while. I see. He's such a show-off, but so unreliable in a tight spot. Looks like he really can't do anything without me after all. After that short exchange of words, Kyrie already knew that Rudolph had been killed. However, no trace of urgency or panic rose to her face. She just closed her eyes with her usual unconcerned expression. And when she opened them again, she had regained her composed smile. Thank you. I'm grateful. This way I really can have everything to myself. What's that blood on your clothes? You just came out of the guest house, didn't you? Don't tell me. Yes, that's right. I'm right in the middle of a murder case at the moment. You killed them! All of them! Even Maya! There was no need to let them live until morning. When morning came, there'd be an uproar that could be a pain. They might have used a radio to contact someone off the island and gotten help. So this is clearly the optimal move to take. If you spin the chessboard around and look at it that way, right? Monster! I can't believe you could be so blinded by greed that you commit murder! You weren't doing so bad yourself. That was an accident! I didn't mean to kill them! Unlike you! No, just like me. If that gun hadn't gone off, you would have kept on arguing and jumping at each other, and the rest of you would eventually reach the same answer as me. Just a few steps slower. I'm not a murderer! Not true. You're just a murderer who didn't get the chance. You've just been saved by an accidental discharge. If it weren't for that good bit of luck, if I hadn't moved before you did, then you would have played the same role I'm playing now. That fact won't go away, no matter how much you try to deny it. It's the truth of a different future. Don't try and confuse me! However, on the inside, Ava understood. Back then, she had probably been saved by that accidental discharge by a coincidence. If the argument had continued much longer, she would have surely grown a desire to kill Kraus and the others, and might have even carried it out. She simply could not deny the existence of that demon deep within her heart. Only the theater goers knew. They knew that she could become a killer in another world. Kyrie, who didn't have that theater-going ability, knew this fact as well. Maybe there really was something extraordinary about her after all. So, for some time, Ava could only grind her teeth in silence, still pointing her gun. I don't understand. You're also a mother. You felt the pain of giving birth to your own child. How could you not know how precious a life is? How are you capable of doing all of this? That's the thing about kids. If you just sleep around, they get made all by themselves. That's not what I'm talking about! They say that children are bonds, right? What?! Children are bonds used to tie you to your husband. She was a bond to make Rudolph acknowledge me so I could take him back from that woman. But you killed Rudolph now. You understand what that means, right? What do you mean? I understand? Just that right now. I'm the wife of no man, and I have no intention of being a mother. I am me, Kyrie. Now that Rudolph's dead, I'm not even Ushirimiya anymore. I live to benefit me. Right. Rudolph is dead, so maybe you aren't a wife anymore. But you still have Angie, don't you? You're still a mother, aren't you? Didn't you hear what I just said about bonds? Now that Rudolph is gone, Angie is of no use to me. You! How can any mother say that about her own daughter? Ava, let's put a stop to this. We can be honest here. Honest?! Did either of us marry because we wanted children? We didn't, right? We married because we wanted to live with a man we loved. And once you've married, you never want to let that man go for the rest of your life, correct? Children are just weapons to be used for that goal. I'd never have children for a reason like that! But people can have children just for that reason. Yuri kept on speaking emotionlessly, ignoring the falling rain. Her relaxed smile didn't falter for an instant. Angie was just a chain I used to tie Rudolph to me. Or, you could call her a chess piece, someone to play the role of a kid in our family drama. To me, Angie was nothing more than a piece necessary so that I could act the part of a good mother in front of Rudolph. You could say that to Angie's face! That would be just a bit too sad, so I won't say it to her directly. I plan to write her a letter asking her to forgive her bad mother, then vanish from her life. You see what Rosa and Maria are like, right? Now that Rudolph's gone, Angie's just a chain tying me down. I'll go back to just being Kyrie and enjoy the rest of my life at my leisure. A new challenge, and a new life, and maybe even a new love. And you call yourself human? You call yourself Angie's mother? Who gives a damn about Angie? I've never liked that little brat. How can you? You've been released from your family drama too, haven't you? Let's sing the praises of a woman's freedom. You should thank me for having George killed for you too. You monster! The two yells and the sound of gunfire thunder across the dark rose garden. Slowly, Ava fell backwards. As she landed into a puddle, scattering countless drops of water. Across from her, Kyrie spun around as though dancing. Beautiful black rose petals scattered around her. The petals were a dark, dark red. As they sprayed from her throat, she spun around in a circle and slowly crumpled. Then she fell to the ground, sending muddy water flying. The two women had shot and fallen. However, when the thunder roared, only Ava sat back up. Ava hadn't been shot. Curie's intensity had made her fall backwards, but the bullet had once again slipped right past her. Ava cursed her good luck. Why couldn't this luck have saved her husband or her son? Die there! For Angie's sake as well! You'll be killed in an explosion accident. Until the moment of your death, you worried about your daughter you left behind. Yes, I'll write that into the lid of the cat box. When Kyrie heard this, blood dripped from her grinning mouth and she seemed to say something in response. However, her voice came out only as globs of blood from a hole in her throat, not words. Mom! Mom! Ah! It's a lie! It's all a lie! Ah! Angie, please calm down. This is just a game. That couldn't possibly be what your mother truly feels. It's just something that the Game Master made on Curie's piece say. But saying that did nothing to calm Angie's sobs. I don't blame her. Even if she knows it's just a game, she's been forced to see not only her mother's death, but also her mother announcing that she's the culprit of a mass murder who didn't even love her own daughter. Anyone would sob after hearing that. Fantastal! Enough of this! I don't care who the Game Master is! Stop this pointless game right now! When Leon yelled this, the theater suddenly went pitch black, swallowed in darkness. However, that wasn't enough to shock Leon. Leon continued to yell Berncastle's name into the darkness, telling the witch to stop this game. Then a single beam of light shone down upon the stage. There was Claire, the one who had appeared for just a second, right before this cruel game began. Claire! So, you were the Game Master after all? I don't get it, why? Claire didn't answer. In fact, it looked as though she hadn't even heard. Her eyes were blank. Couldn't really tell what she was looking at. In fact, she was even forgetting to blink. She looked just like a doll. Then another beam of light lit up the side of the stage. Beneath that light stood Berncastle. At the same moment, though, there appeared to be no one in the audience. A thunderous applause rang out. Berncastle raised her right hand in response to the applause. She kept doing so until it died down. Berncastle! So, you were the master of this game after all! Leon, how many times do I have to tell you that I'm not the Game Master? Then, are you saying it's Claire? That's impossible! Yeah, of course it's impossible. After all, Claire died. We were just conducting her funeral. Did you forget that? Then, just who's standing there? The corpse. He's not a mannequin. So of course she still has her insides. She's hiding it under a beautiful exterior. But she's actually packed full of guts. When Berncastle raised her right hand, a light fell on it. That black shining scythe appeared there. It was a cold, merciless, and cruel object, like something a classic Grim Reaper might hold. What are you planning to do? When they're alive, you can enjoy watching them struggle. When they're dead, you can enjoy tearing out their guts. Tales are things you get to enjoy twice. That's what it means to be a witch of theater going. Berncastle pressed the blade of her Reaper's scythe against Claire's stomach, and slowly slid across. Then, along the lines she traced, Claire's dress was sliced open. It was now clear that the scythe she held was not a fake one for theatrical use, and it was clear just what she had planned to do that had made her cruel smile so fitting. Angie, can you hear me? I hear you! You tear me to bits, make me read! What's next? Are you showing me the worst possible tale to hurt me even more? Is this fun for you? Yeah, I bet it is! I had a blast too! You think that I'd give up after that? You think I'll just sit around crying any longer just because of this disgusting game of yours? Both you and Leon seem to have the wrong idea. I'm not the Game Master. This tale's not the one I created. And that woman in the dress is the Game Master? No, she isn't! That can't be! Then, who's the Game Master? Who wove this disgusting tale? You still don't understand. What don't we understand? Angie, you gambled everything on a faint chance of a miracle throwing yourself forward. I invite you to October 4th and 5th of 1986 out of respect for your courage. What was your goal? To take your family back. That would be a very difficult thing, but that's the blessing of a miracle, a thoroughly impossible one. You were prepared for that, weren't you? Yes, I'm prepared! And I still haven't given up on Onicha, Mom, or Dad! Whether you give up or not is your choice. That is your own game, after all. I won't support you, and I won't even watch. I've already enjoyed my fill of games that use the piece you are, so I have no need for you any longer. Glad to hear it! Then why am I here? Aren't you the one who invited me? Yes, that's right. I invited you here to thank you for entertaining me for a while as my piece. To thank me? So this is how witches show gratitude. Sure, this isn't loads of fun, you beast! How could you make this kind of game, and do that to Dad and Mom? Angie, you made a wish hoping to take your family back. However, you also made another wish. Remember? No, I don't! You wanted to know what happened on that day. What happened on Rokenjima, October 4th and 5th, 1986. Did Angie leave on her journey with Amakusa because she longed to answer that question? That's right. So what's your point? You don't mean... Leon realized what Bernkastel was getting at. Realized and was unable to say any more. The Game Master is neither Bernkastel nor Claire. Then who is it? It's the wrong question. There is no Game Master. It could only mean one thing. Angie, you still don't understand. What? This is the truth. The insides of the cat box on October 4th and 5th, 1986. Afterwards, Ava survived the explosion by escaping to Kuadorian. And since she'd never spoke of the insides of the cat box, no matter how much you wanted to know, that truth was shut within the cat box for all eternity. What are you saying? Only Ava returned alive. Even though the police claimed it was an accident, the public didn't believe it. Then she took over her husband's company. The harder she worked to make it more and more successful, the more enemies she made. A public image of her as a great queen of conspiracy grew stronger and stronger. I'm sure she wanted to tell people about the truth that no one would ever believe without proof. Bit by bit, Ava's heart began to snap. You rejected Ava, so she rejected you in turn. The relationship between the last two members of your family was strained to the limit. Each time she compared you with her beloved son, the more and more twisted and broken. She grew. Then a strange message ball was picked up and became a topic of conversation. It contained a bizarre story, one that told a mysterious serial murder connected to Rokenchima's gold. Everyone rejected the explosion accident theory and started to think of conspiracy theories. Some of those theories named Ava as the culprit, which tormented her even more. However, Ava even used that to build up the cat box. And until the moment of her death, she protected it. She protected the lock that held the cat box shut. So no human would ever reach the truth inside the cat box, not unless those witches who crossed the sea of fragments opened the lock. This is the truth. You're lying. You're lying! Lying! If this really is the truth, you should be able to say so in red! There's no way you can! Of course there isn't! Angie! Angie, calm down! Angie writhed with such strength that the chains on her arms and legs looked like they might snap. All over her body, a red, gooey liquid started to seep out. It was as though cracks had opened up all over her, and blood was leaking out of all of them. What's that? You want me to announce it clearly with the red truth? And I'll say it just for you. That this is all true. No! Angie's yell covered up Byrne's red truth. say that you could have shut it up inside the cat box. But you just had to ask right. I knew you would, of course. And I so wanted to see you scream like that. A lovely expression like that should keep me laughing for about 100 years. Go back to being scrap meat. Mom! Dad! It's a lie, right? Lies! Lies! Angie! Angie! As Angie held her head and screamed, the blood dripping from her finally grew so thick that it started scattering all over the place. Then, bit by bit, her body began to melt, no, to fall apart. Then bits of her began to pile up on the chairs, until she was nothing more but a pile of guts and scraps. Is the truth really that sacred? How absurd! How foolish! Why can't humans control their own truth? They stupidly search for a truth, like that's all that matters, and when they finally find it and can't stand it, they turn themselves into scrap meat. Hey, are you watching? Claire, you wanted to hide this truth too, didn't you? For fun, you wrote several Catbox tales, and planned to seal them in message balls, like the end of a mystery novel you loved. Then you threw them into the sea, to save those who would suffer if they knew this truth. You sealed everything in a Catbox, and Ava provided the lock. And I sliced that box open for you. And all that effort you spent to hide it has gone to waste. I've exposed all the truth that you hid with your death. Is that what you've been after? You did all this just to mock Claire's death? And then you showed it Angie to make her suffer? You really were an evil witch after all! I've been a witch the whole time. A traveler's only goal is to escape boredom. Care for it and love it while it's alive, then eat the guts when it's dead. That's how witches live. I cannot forgive you for what you've done. You've hurt Angie and humiliated Claire, the person I would become in another world. I won't forgive you! Liam, you're still Claire's hope, even after her death. From the moment Claire got thrown off that cliff, her fate was already sealed. I'm sure she felt a little bit of salvation. To know that another her lives in happiness in another world. That's right! I'm her salvation! So I must live life to the fullest for the both of us! Liam, let me show you just a bit more of truth from this tale. I'm not interested! No, it will be very interesting. After the duel between Ava and Kira, the guest house is wrapped in silence. Let me invite you to the parlor at that point in time. The parlor? The one in the mansion. Castle snapped her fingers. The scene in the mansion's parlor unfolded before them. In the cruel tale they had just been shown, the parlor hadn't been particularly important. Jessica had been summoned to the parlor, but she was then immediately led to the dining hall and killed there. So there hadn't been anything to see in the parlor. And in fact, there was nothing to see in the parlor now appearing before Leon. Just what's supposed to be here? As you can see, there's nothing here. But what? I'm about to show you something interesting. If you call it interesting, that's a sure sign that it isn't. Go on. Take a look. It's right there. Right in that corner. Castle was pointing at nothing more than a corner of the room. There was nothing there. He had told Leon to look there, so the latter was expecting something terrible to be there. But there really was nothing there at all. That's right, there's nothing there. At least not in this world. But what if we peek into the next fragment over? On the white blank wall, bit by bit, a splash of blood seeped into view. Then right there a corpse appeared. But that couldn't be. This is me? It was Leon, lying dead against the wall. Assure me, Leon's corpse lay there exposed. What's going on here? Why am I here? This is supposed to be Claire's world, not mine. Claire and I can't exist at the same time, right? Yes, that's right. That's because I just switched worlds. Switch fragments. Switch to your world, that is. I don't understand! It's very simple. They both end the same way. I don't get it! Why should I be dead here? In your world, on October 4th, 1986, Beatrice's funeral was held just before the family conference. Yes, I know that! And for me, that happened today a short while ago! I wonder what will happen between time and late that night. Nothing at all! The cousins will all play together. The whole family will have dinner together. Then comes the family conference after night falls. You were going to succeed the headship when you turned 20, right? Was the entire family satisfied with that, I wonder? I don't know if they were satisfied, but the decision had been made. The head made it himself. Looks like even you don't really believe they were satisfied. That's it right there. Kinzo adored you more than anything, so he tried to make an exception and have you succeed the headship directly. Of course, his children wouldn't have been happy with that. The siblings objected to having Leon succeed the headship. Even Kraus joined in, saying that Leon was still too young. Then on the night of the family conference, Kinzo tried proposing a difficult riddle. Could it be? That's right, the riddle of the epitaph. As you can tell by the mechanism sent into the chapel, Kinzo thought of an epitaph trick near the beginning, when the mansion at Rokenjima was being built. He had the romantic idea of someday using it as a test to select his successor. Kinzo decided to present that riddle at the family conference. Did he plan to give the position of successor to the person who solved it? Or did he promise to reconsider Leon's position as successor if it was solved? Either way, Kinzo was confident. He was confident that no one would be able to solve this tough riddle, which he had created himself. After that, everything happened exactly like the truth you just saw. The siblings solved it right away, and there was a quarrel over the pile of gold. Then Kiri and Ralph decided to prevent any chance of the crime being discovered the next morning, an outcry being raised by committing murder late that night. They used the phone to call the kids out from the cousin room one by one and killed them. As the first of the cousins, you were the first to be called out. Then Kiri shot you there, right in the parlor. No, that's not quite right. You're the Ushiromiya Leon from the early evening of October 4th, 1986. So I'll say it this way. Tonight, Kiri will shoot you dead in the parlor. That's insane! That's right, probability! Just like Leon can be born from Claire thanks to a rare miracle, Kiri only commits murder with a tiny probability close to 0. That must be it! Aren't you the witch who specializes in fighting extremely improbable worlds? That is correct. I had to find one fragment out of 2,578,917 in order to discover the miracle that is you. However, it was very, very easy to find this result for your world. After all, probability isn't a factor. I'm a witch who can find any miracle, no matter how unlikely it is. But I can't find things that don't exist. If the witch's certainty really guarantees that something is certain, even I can't win against her. But then, I'm... With a 2,578,916 out of 2,578,917 probability, you live in the world where you're Claire, get toyed with an inescapable fate, and reach a tragic end. And with a 1 out of 2,578,917 probability, you live as WILLXLION and are killed by Kyrie tonight. In other words, your fate, no, the fate the two of you share, traps you in an inescapable dead end, a hell of fate, with a 2,578,917 out of a 2,578,917 probability. To put it another way, it's a certain fate, with absolutely no chance for a miracle. Sucks for you, Claire, or should I say Beatrice? Just when a bright light seemed to turn the world white, the scene suddenly changed back to the theater. On the stage, Berncastle's Reaper sight slid across Claire's stomach as the latter stood absolutely still. A red line was drawn across the white skin exposed, now that the dress had been cut, and black blood began to seep out. Beatrice, trapped in that inescapable, certain, locked-away pair of days, you became a witch who could give birth to endless possibilities within that 2-day cat box. In exchange, it was absolutely certain that you would not be saved or rewarded. However, you had a dream. You dreamed of WILLXLION. You consoled yourself with the thought of a miracle world where you could have lived in happiness without ever becoming Claire. I had to work hard to find Leon. This is Beato dreamed Leon's existence as a true miracle. And at the end of your funeral, I wanted to show you. To show you that even with that miracle, you couldn't have escaped from the tragedy. With that small crack between the bars of the jail that imprisoned her, the witch called Beatrice dreamed of a world where she might have been happy. However, the space that she could see through the crack in the bars was just another part of the same jail. The more I hear, the less I understand about you! Why would you do something like this? I lost the game to Beatrice, so I wanted to get back at her. Yeah, now I feel a lot better about losing that game. Hey Beato, are you watching? Can you see this? And do you remember? Remember when I promised you that a miracle wouldn't occur with certainty? So, Leon, allow me to return you to your world right before Beato's eyes. It looks like the theater-going witches are all sick and tired of those happy family get-together scenes. So I'll send you to the moment just before Kyrie shoots you. Then I'll make Beato watch that moment. Die, scum Leon! The last hope of that scum Beato! Berncastle raised her Reaper sight, swung it down with gusto, and plunged it deep into Claire's stomach. Did you think you'd get an easy death? But humiliating and tearing out a corpse's guts is my specialty. He took the blade end of the scythe and heartlessly, ruthlessly, brutally raised it up into the air and along a vertical line from Claire's stomach to her chest. The blade cut deeply, slicing Claire open. The red, black insides jutted out, then burst like a dam breaking, covering the world with dark red entrails.
Steal the Italian skull, you say? You coward who sure me, and you call yourself a soldier of the Empire?
Father? I do love and respect you, Father, but your feelings are something
Why? Why did you save me? Why didn't you just let me die? Because of that terrible injury, I've been forced to live in a body like this. I never wanted to live in a body like this. This body isn't even capable of love. What's the point of living like that? This isn't even a human's life. It's like being furniture. That's right. I'm furniture. Furniture. Why? Why didn't you just let me die back then? Ah!
Huh? When I came to, I was in the parlor of the mansion. When did I get here? I heard a sound behind me and slowly turned around. And there. Sorry. Please don't take this personally. Huh? I could see down the frigid barrel the gun Aunt Kyrie was pointing. And then, she slowly pulled the trigger. I could feel a razor-sharp wind pass through my body like a knife slicing through butter. Prepared for death and hoping to see my fate, at the end I slowly opened my eyes. The world had been cut in two. Kyrie was frozen in place like a statue, still pointing her gun with a cold smile on her face. It had been cut in half at an angle, the top part of her slowly sliding off to the side. No, that wasn't quite right. That wasn't right at all. It wasn't just Kyrie. The whole world had been sliced in half at an angle and was slowly sliding off to one side. And immediately after fissures seemed to appear across the world, it shattered.
You!
When you own a cat, you tend to pick up on their habits. He pointed at Rune Castle with the tip of the pitch-black sword that sliced the world, glaring at her. What's this? Are you saying you came back here on a whim? There's no way you'd end things on a happy note. You really hate Beatrice so much. You think I'd let her win and get away? I have to pay her back in full for humiliation she caused me. When I hold a grudge, a mere century isn't long enough for me to forget it. You're a gloomy person. Come on, you mustn't neglect my heart. Are you okay, Leon? Hey, what's wrong? Leon had suddenly doubled over, groaning. My chest hurts. It's... Will roughly grabbed the hand that was pressed against Leon's chest and tore it away. Blood was seeping out from where Leon's hand had been. It was a place where the bullet would have entered if Kyrie had shot Leon. Looks like Leon's body is almost ready to accept its fate. Leon, hang in there! Damn these chains. When Will tried to pick up Leon's body, he finally noticed the chains attached to each wrist and ankle. What's this? Are you trying to take that kid and escape? I won't let you. I'm about to let everyone watch as Leon coughs up blood, despairing at the fact there's no hope in any of the many worlds, before finally dying in agony. Leon isn't a show! Will swung his pitch-black sword and destroyed the chains binding Leon. The chains and shackles shattered into little bits like glass and vanished. You intend to get in the way of my fun. You aren't God. All you can do is sneer at fate. Leon's fate is gonna be decided by Leon. You can't treat a human's fate like a toy. You've got guts saying that to the great Castle Witch of the Senate. I have no more use for you either, get it? You've shown that Berto's fantasy is a mystery, and cut it to pieces. You fulfilled your role. I would have let you be, if only you just left quietly. Now that you've strolled back in here, you can hardly complain if I make you my plaything. Come to me, my cute kitties. Scratch them up and tear off their skin. Peel them like grapes. When Castle clapped her hands twice, countless pairs of glaring jewels appeared all around Will and Leon. They were clearly cat eyes, but the way the jewel hung from their mouths looked far more terrifying than any cat. Well, I'll handle this. Trimming kitty nails is nothing new to me. The number of jewels surrounding them already reached into the thousands. Will pointed his sword in one direction after another, warding off the surrounding cats. Get a grip, Leon. You haven't been shot. Don't acknowledge that you've been. Know that you're going to be shot. Leon tried to fight an incredible tearing pain. No. It was a fight against the promised future that Castle had shown. However, the stake of that future, which the Witch of Miracles had guaranteed would contain no miracle, was firm and merciless. Bit by bit, and yet unceasingly, it continued to pierce into Leon's chest. Listen up. I'm going to break through the perimeter for just a second. When I do, you need to run with all you've got. Doesn't matter where. Just make sure you get far away from this place. And keep on running no matter what happens. I'll try. To the best of my ability. If I can do it. Please forgive me. If you can't do it, enough whining. I won't forgive you. Neither will Claire. Did you forget that your Claire's 1 in 2,578,970 chance? If you give up, you're betraying all the other yous in countless worlds. So don't lose heart. Keep struggling and struggling. Don't look for a miracle. Be one. Be a miracle. You're going to reach a happy future. Don't give up. Don't complain. If you try complaining again, this time I'll pinch your ass. Okay. How very confident you are telling this kid to be a miracle when you stand before the Witch of Miracles. Miracles are no more than fantasy. Grovel in this world that has been convicted as a mystery and die horribly like a worm. The witches of theater going are looking forward to watching it. Call that a mystery? You think I'd ever accept a mystery without heart? Let the cat who wants to be made into a shamisen strike first. Ah, what a pain. Let's have all of you at once! I'm Willard H. Wright, SSVD's head inquisitor of heresy. This will be the final time I draw my sword. Trash him, kitties. At once, all the cat's eyes opened wide, undulating and spinning in a spiral, and then swallowed Will up. But Will and Leon weren't swallowed up. The cats that had flown in the air at them from all directions were now being launched away, like they were balloons popping around the pair. Oh, not bad. I don't give a damn about your kitties. It's just the mama cat I care about. Castle, Witch of Miracles. It's about time someone trimmed your claws. Another flash of black blades spun in the dark tornado and scared the cats once more. Leon, realizing this was an opening Will had planned, ran all out, still clutching at the heaving chest. Will, I'm running! Dinah has a weak stomach. Make sure you only give her milk that's warm. Huh? By the time Leon asked Will to repeat what he had said, he'd already leapt into the stage and was now confronting Castle. It was like a climax of a show. Loud cheers erupted from the pitch-black audience seating. On either side of Claire, who lay with her insides exposed, stood Will with his pitch-black sword and Castle with a sight that could harvest miracles from fate. Kiri and Rudolph are culprits, and they massacred the people on the island. They called Leon out to the parlor and shot Leon to death? Sorry. I can't acknowledge this truth of yours as a mystery. This is all fantasy. Fantasy? You're calling it that, to try to let Leon escape fate. By all means, try. Rule number 1. It's forbidden to have a crime without all clues presented. Surely Will's black sword must have cut through Castle's body. However, it had no effect, like cutting the reflection of the moon on the water. What's this? What do you mean by clues? I won't accept your mystery with Kiri and Rudolph as the culprits. You won't find clues showing that they're the culprits, no matter which game you look at. Of course you won't. Even if they did exist at one point, the whole island blew up. Which means there aren't any clues. And that means this is no mystery. It's fantasy. It's impossible for an unprovable truth to become truth in the human world. In other words, even the actual truth cannot cross the boundary of a cat box. Are you trying to shut the truth inside the cat box? Is this how the mystery genre is supposed to fight? Like a howl of a wild animal, Castle carelessly tossed her scythe aside. Fighting itself is a waste of time. Get over here, scum. Try and cut me all you like. I'll listen to all you've got to say. The 20 wedges will pierce every part of your heartless mystery. Here it comes. And when you realize that you can't defeat me with those 20 wedges, you know what will happen next, right? Come on. I'll play with you if that's what you want. Trying to ignore an incredible painful... I messed up. Yeah, I figured. Give me a moment. Alright, since the transition is already passed. I just realized I shouldn't have paused the recording. I am an idiot. Anyway. Trying to ignore an incredible pain in the chest, Leon kept on running and running without stopping. Leon kept on running and running without stopping. I dashed down the theater-going witches, and then ran through an incomprehensible world of blackness. Before I knew it, I was running through a place that looked like a sea of stars. Or maybe the bottom of the ocean with stars scattered around. If I get careless for a second, I'll probably trip. No, if I got careless, I won't be able to tell if I'm running. Or just making running motions as I free-fall, endlessly sinking deeper into the ocean of stars. I just kept on running without any goal or target. I mustn't stop moving. I mustn't fall down here. If I fall, I'll crush the hope of the Mies and the countless worlds. There's a happy world that the Beatrices dreamed of, and I'm their last hope, the only one who can reach that world. Even though I understand this, the truth thrust in front of me by the witch who controls miracles, who says there can be no miracle, is cruelly gouging itself into my chest. Sorry, Will. My body's already... Then Leon finally succumbed to the fierce pain and fate, and fell over. Leon's body was held roughly from behind and lifted up. Will! You're okay! Not really, no. Don't you give up. Didn't I tell you I'd pinch your ass? Sorry. I'm really sorry, but... on that day, in that place, I was fated to be killed. That's right. All humans are fated to die in the end. Does that mean their lives are meaningless? Of course not. What a person's life means, what it's worth, what it is. These are things each person decides for themselves. No matter what sort of fate is forced upon them. Don't accept it. Create your own world for yourself. Will, your left arm. Ah, right, must have forgotten it. I'll be paying to go get it back now. There were rips all over Will's body. Also, his left arm had been brutally torn off from the elbow. His clothes were in tatters, and he looked like a blood-stained scarecrow. Then Leo noticed that this place had once felt like a sea filled with stars, both above and below them. Those stars had now gathered together and were surrounding them. It was huge, even number of stars all glaring at the two of them. Will was holding Leon with one arm. He couldn't take his sword out. However, he didn't let go. He was determined to let Leon escape from here, to lead Leon toward the happy tale that the Beatrices had dreamed of. Behind the cats, Will's eyes glowed out of the empty darkness. The Queen of Cats, who permitted no miracles, appeared. Willard, put Leon down. If you do, I'll let you go. Go file a protest with the Great Court, and put it up for debate. Will, I won't leave you behind. I need to tell you. Tell you why I quit SSVD. Come to think of it, even I don't know that. Why did you do it? It's because I got fed up with all those damn sob story mysteries. Survive and reach a happy ending. I'll show her. Beatrice died in despair thinking that there were only bad endings. I'll show her that a happy ending can't exist. That's why I'll never put you down. Will, you can take the rest of my left arm, Cats. I'll give you my legs too if you want them. I'm not letting go of Leon here. Take Leon away from the bad ending you represent, even if I have to crawl my way out of here. Are you okay with this, Leon? Will's planning to die to protect you. And you don't want that, right? Go ahead and tell him to leave you be and save yourself. Will. Yeah. Please, don't leave me here! I'll certainly survive! And so will you! That's the spirit. As he said this, Will held Leon tight. There you have it. We'll keep struggling on, Berncastle. We won't give you the chance of a miracle. Oh, wait. We won't give up on a chance of a miracle. Oh, I messed up. I keep making mistakes all over. You're saying that when the Witch of Miracles has promised with certainty that there will be no miracles. So long, you two. Go collect dust in the depths of oblivion, unable to even die and disappear. Come, my kitties. I won't order you to kill them. Just clean up the 2 pieces whose role has ended. 100 million, a trillion, and quadrillion cats all bared their fangs. In the starry sky of cat eyes, countless flesh-colored mouths opened to expose countless teeth. The world was wrapped in flesh and blood and fang. Two white pieces were set on the chessboard. The countless black pieces surrounding them were now just packed together, not even placed on squares. Berncastle tipped the 2 white pieces over and took them off the board. Is it really okay to let it end like that? Yes. Yes, as usual, your reading truly does fall comfortably on my ears, my Miko. As you wish, I scraped out even the inner parts of the guts. Was that enough in an answer check for you? Indeed. I am quite satisfied. Using the answer you have revealed as a key, I will go back through all the tales so far, opening the closed rooms like treasure boxes one by one. It's fun finding the key, and it's even more fun to stick to it all into locks. You have done very well, my Miko. From now on, let me enjoy my thoughts alone. This has been enough. The Witch of Theater-going sat back in her rocking chair, a satisfied smile on her face, as though enjoying a pleasant aftertaste. There was no need for a game board anymore. She just had to go back in her mind the whole set of tales to check whether her theory was right or not. It seemed to have left her pleasantly drunk, even better than most expensive wine. Are you done with me now? You have done well, my Miko. I absolve you of your duty. I will return to my slumber. I'd like to enjoy this pleasant dream for a few more centuries. And when I grow tired of that, you will find yet another tale to keep me entertained. For those centuries, which will pass in a blink of an eye, I grant you your freedom. My bad. Splendidly done, Berncastle, my cute Miko. It's not like I care. Go ahead and dry up and die. So long for the rest of time. You call a few mere centuries for the rest of time. Featherine's consciousness slowly faded away. As the owner of the study's slumber grew deeper, the lights about the room slowly darkened. Good night forever, Aurora. You don't need this game board anymore. I'll take it. Berncastle reached out toward Beato's game board, which lay on the table in front of Featherine's rocking chair, and tapped it twice. The game board and the pieces flew into the air, folded up and put themselves away, then landed on Berncastle's outstretched right hand. I still haven't had the chance to do any real game mastering. I just did Beato's funeral, that and tearing out the guts. I still haven't done anything. Berncastle's smile twisted evilly. Then the game board floated up once again, and a world unfolded itself above Berncastle's palm. Hey, pieces of Beato's game. I'm gonna have you spin an incredibly brutal tale that I'll find incredibly entertaining. Tremble in the fear of a certain fate that you've been promised. By the name of Burnt Castle, Witch of Miracle. And as the final game master of Beto's game, I proclaim it. Though just saying it would be boring. Maybe I should follow Beto's rules and say it in red.
Are you sure? There might still be some witches with naive hopes.
Lambda, so you're here. Of course. You're always wherever I am.
Go ahead! Go on and say it! You tell those naive dreamers.
Yes, I will. As the Witch of Miracles and as the final game master, I'll proclaim the start of the final game. And make you this promise. I won't give this game a happy ending. A single girl was crying in a desolate, quiet chapel. She was a small girl, only 6 years old. The girl who would, for 12 years starting now, lament the fact that she wasn't on this island during October 4th and 5th of 1986. Then, a single man appeared. The man noticed the girl, walked up to her quietly, trying not to scare her, and put his arm gently around her shoulders.
Oni-chan.
I've been looking for you, Angie. The girl jumped into her big brother's chest and started crying again. What's wrong? Why are you so sad?
Today a kid in class bullied me. He said the people on TV were saying Mom had ties to bad people, so he said that Mom and Dad were the culprits and that they'd probably kill everyone. I asked Aunt Eva, hoping that she said it wasn't true, but she didn't say anything. Mom and Dad aren't bad people, right? Right?
Poor kid. Everyone keeps saying whatever they like about whatever might have happened on the island that day. Sit over there.
Okay.
When the man pointed to the floor, a cloud of gold butterflies gathered there and created a chair. The girl obediently sat down on it.
You know, don't you, Oni-chan? You know that Mom and Dad aren't bad people, right?
Yeah, of course I know that. I know that none of them were bad people.
Then tell me, what happened on that day? What happened on Rokenjima?
Okay, I'll tell you. This is what happened on that day.
Is it a scary story?
Of course not.
Is it a sad story?
Not at all.
Then, what kind of story is it?
You can decide that for yourself when you hear it. Definitely isn't a painful story. So listen up.
Okay. Valor, Oni-chan.
On that day, we all went to Rokenjima. There were a lot of us. It was an important day, the day of the family conference. Should I begin? This is final game. Made just for Angie. Listen, Angie. This is what happened on Rokenjima on that day. It isn't sad or painful at all.